And then there's a protective mode that your body gets into. So after a brain injury, a lot of people get into this protective mode because their intolerance, like, for too long, and their brain just says, okay, we're going to protect you from having a nervous breakdown. So most of the patients I see with brain injuries, they either have tiny little comfort ranges or minimal tolerance ranges, or they're just living in protective mode. When they're in protective mode, their peripheral eyesight is hypersensitive or sometimes turned off. And that's what you're saying. If somebody were put into a dark forest at night where they're scared, they're in protective mode. And the side of their eye will become extra sensitive to anything. Their ears will become sensitive to sounds, and they'll hear everything. So after a brain injury, sometimes that type of protective mode just stays all the time. Mm-hmm. And so you'll have people who can't travel in a car because the movement on the side of them bothers them. Or you'll have people who try to go to class and just the teachers moving around gives them a headache. Or they'll start to try to think and use their head inside to do the calculation, and they'll get a major headache or nausea or dizziness because they just can't function. So those are the types of things. The example you're asking about, I use a lot, and it's about a mouse running across the room. So if we're sitting here and a mouse just suddenly ran across the room and you saw a little thing moving, it wouldn't be attacking you. It wouldn't be, smelling. It doesn't have a sound, but just catching the corner of your eye is enough to make your heart rate go up. So the corner of your eye is so important because you get a full visceral reaction when something's moving like that and it's sudden. But for kids in a schoolroom after they've been injured on a playground, or workers who've had a workman's comp accident, if they fall on a job, any movement by anybody is taken the same way a mouse running would be. And they get this full visceral reaction where their body's involved, their mind shifts gears, they're tensed up, their heart rate goes up, they go in fight or flight mode. And that gets to be a problem. Mm-hmm. And so what we can do is work with eyeglasses to get them out of fight or flight mode and back into tolerance, and then eventually from tolerance down to comfort. And so it's a process, and that's what the Ghost in My Brain book talked about. Clark Elliott described things beautifully, but you start with something that calms your body, gets your body back on cruise control, and then slowly you build up your tolerance levels, and then you build up your comfort levels. And he luckily got to a point where he's better than what he had originally been.
And I think a lot of people walk around in this fight or flight mode and aren't even consciously aware of it.
No, because that's their new norm.
Yeah. So for me, whenever somebody was in my left side where I couldn't see them as well, it made me kind of like jump. Mm-hmm. Or if someone were to tap me on the shoulder, I jump, and it's like, this shouldn't be startling me.
Yeah, it's a filtering mechanism that most people can filter out things that are just normal, like normal movements, and they separate those from strange or unusual movements, and they only startle appropriately. But like you're saying, your brain couldn't filter out the difference. A touch by anything would be enough to startle you. Mm-hmm. We get people like that all the time. I work a lot with other types of professionals because no one profession can fix everything. So we split things into body and the mind, and then your body and your mind each have to react to the environment. So my emphasis is eyes and ears because that's how you take in a good chunk of your environment. And if your eyes and ears are mismatched, then the environment's going to be confusing. Mm-hmm. The environment's confusing, you're going to get stress chemicals in you. If you get stress chemicals in you, you're going to go into protective mode. So it's just a vicious cycle.